Hello and welcome back, listeners, to another exciting episode on Inner Peace, Better Health. I'm your host, Sana, and today we have a truly inspiring guest with us, Jen Aks. Now, listeners, let me share a bit about Jen with all of you. Jen is a leadership and embodiment coach and educator who has dedicated her life to helping people awaken their innate emotional intelligence and tap into the body's wisdom. With over 30 years of experience in dance, teaching, speaking, and directing, Jen created the power of gesture, a groundbreaking methodology designed to help individuals connect with and also understand their emotions. So, with that, Jen, it's an absolute pleasure having you with us today, as always. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
Jen, your work is fascinating. So, can you explain what emotional and kinesthetic intelligence are, and why are they so important?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Emotional intelligence and kinesthetic intelligence, when you blend the two, you're really looking at the body's wisdom, the natural, innate intelligence that we're born with. Kinesthetic is the body's intelligence, the ability to navigate life, move through life, and feel connection to different experiences and relationships that we're having. Emotional intelligence are really the sensations internally and the emotions that we experience. And blending all of that together really gives us the information that we need to live authentically, right? Because it's coming from the inside out. The beauty of kinesthetic and emotional intelligence is that we can live from a place of truth. Kinesthetic intelligence, a lot of people that have a high kinesthetic intelligence are dancers and musicians, athletes, right? People that really use their body to craft their skill and use that strength to deepen how they move through life and how they serve. And the emotional intelligence, a lot of people that have that naturally, well, we all do, and we'll talk about that. We all do, and we all can strengthen it. That's the beauty of emotional intelligence. But a lot of people wind up using that strength in therapy. They might be therapists, they might be coaches or teachers, right? People that have the ability to connect to their own emotional experience, understand how to navigate that, move through it, manage it, and that of others. Being able to see people, really hear people, really understand people's energy and where they are in their life. So that blend of, their own personal emotional intelligence, intrapersonal is how it's defined, and interpersonal intelligence, which is being able to really connect and manage and help and support others, whether that's in a business or if you're managing or working with I don't want to say managing your children, but really parenting in an authentic way. So those are the two intelligences that we are truly born with, that we can build upon and strengthen and use throughout our life in multiple ways.
Interesting. That's interesting. And I would like to share a bit with our listeners. So, listeners, I was having another very interesting discussion with Jen on our another podcast, The Mindful Living. And I was so astonished, surprised to know that there are 7 different forms of intelligence. So, Jen, there's a very interesting story I know behind that. So, I would like to ask you, how did you first become interested in these forms of intelligence?
So the first thing is there are 9, I just want to clarify, there are 9 forms of intelligence that I have studied through the work of Howard Gardner and Daniel Goleman. And I'll just say that there's kinesthetic that I mentioned, interpersonal and intrapersonal, which are directly related to emotional intelligence, but that's how Howard Gardner differentiates them. There's linguistic intelligence, there's spatial, naturalistic, musical, logical, and mathematical, which is what we're all, that's what society really leans into, and we're all very familiar with, and existential. And then Daniel Goleman, who I've also studied, really just focuses on emotional intelligence, which make up the two, inter and intra. So I just wanted to clarify because it's not 7, it's a couple more. So I wanted to make that clear. Okay, so what was your question?
What was become interested in these forms of intelligence? And what motivated you?
Oh, what motivated me? It wasn't something that I sought after. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go find out if there's different forms of intelligence. My life story led me to that. And I'll just take you to when I was younger. Probably it started about 10. I just felt very unseen in the classroom. I didn't really relate to how the information was being presented in that logical and mathematical way. It was fine. It just was so linear, and everything was connected to standardized tests and IQ scores. And I just didn't really respond or resonate to that form of teaching. It felt very constricted, and I felt unseen, and I felt like I wasn't measuring up to everybody else. So I really developed a narrative about myself that I wasn't smart. And that took me to my late 20s. So almost 2 decades of living with debilitating self-doubt, truly, is what it was. Getting sick at social parties, like thinking I couldn't even, be a part of a conversation because I didn't think what I had to say mattered, and things like that. I mean, there's just a multitude of experiences that really disconnected me to the truth of who I was. And
Mhm.
late in my 20s, I hit my rock bottom moment. I had this opportunity to go to a dinner with a very prestigious celebrity. And I was dating someone at the time, and it was going to be him and his girlfriend, the celebrity, and me and this guy, and my boyfriend at the time. And I just didn't feel like I would measure up, or that I was enough, or that I was valuable enough. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, not feeling like I'm good enough to present on a stage, or I'm not good enough to be a part of this or that or whatever. So it's kind of a universal fear and doubt, I think, that many of us can relate to. And I said no to this invitation, and I got really, this was when I was so sick and sad that I had allowed society to define me to this degree. And I think it was at that point I was just ready to make a shift, and I was done. I was just done living with this. So I found myself doing that healing work, and fell into the work of Howard Gardner, who is a Harvard professor and an author of many, many books around the multiple forms of intelligence. And that is when my life changed, opened up, the research began, and I became empowered to heal and to serve. And that's what I started doing from that point on.
That's really interesting. And, until my sophomore year, I was also kind of, performing and fitting into that template which my parents set for me. But right into high school, I was into a different kind of world. And that created a lot of self-doubt in me, a lot of self-doubt. I always used to think the top performers in my class, they look down upon me. They'll always make fun of me because I'm not performing. And
Yeah.
this happened multiple times with me, and that can be very, very debilitating. So thank you so much for sharing your life story, Jen, and also helping us be familiar with the different kinds of intelligence, because I think majority of the society even doesn't know about, in fact, emotional intelligence also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also one of the question I would like to ask, so although people are now talking more and more about, EQ or emotional intelligence, how they can be more empathetic, but a kinesthetic intelligence, how do you see how it can play an important role in our daily lives?
I'm sorry, you dropped out at that last part. Can you repeat the question?
Sure, sure, Jed. So, how can kinesthetic intelligence play an important role in our daily lives?
Oh, yeah. I love this question. I mean, like I said, kinesthetic intelligence is really evident in athletes and doctors, surgeons and dancers and artists, people that create, right? It's a hands-on approach to learning and processing, and we can enhance those skills by taking more of those approaches on, getting physical with our bodies, getting stronger with our bodies, working out, dancing if we're called to, you know, taking a class to, create something, a visual painting or a piece of pottery, something like that. Getting your hands, getting your body involved in your life experience. So when people find themselves sitting for hours and hours and hours at a desk, I get it. That's fine. And it might be right in alignment with what you need to be doing. And if you want to deepen that kinesthetic connection, those are some of the ways. The other thing is kinesthetic intelligence really, to strengthen that, is really strengthening your mind and body connection. So deepening your work around meditation, building that into your practice. So bringing the body into our life experience, using it to help us get stronger. When we feel stronger in our body, we feel stronger internally, which can then give us a strength to stand in our power and stand in our strength more easily in all the aspects of our life, both personally and professionally. Did I lose you?
Wow. So very, very useful, Jen. And also, uh, another important aspect of your work is your methodology, the power of gesture. And it really, really sounds intriguing. So, how does it help individuals connect with their emotions?
Yeah. So I've created a 3-phase approach to living your most highest and truest and most empowered self. And it really comes from my life experience, the brief description that I shared with you. The 3 phases are embodied, empowered, and elevated. The first one is connecting to ourselves, realigning, re-embodying, reconnecting to the truth of who we are. And I have an approach to how to do that. And that directly aligns with my desire when I was younger, because I was misaligned and completely disembodied, and I needed to do that work. So I've created a way to do that within that phase. The next one is empowered. So empowered is once we're embodied, now we're ready. We can stand tall. We can create goals for ourselves. We can start taking inspired action toward living the life that we need and desire. And then once we're there, we can live elevated. We can feel finally just comfortable in our skin, not really caring about what other people think as much, really being able to appreciate the small things in life and taking it beyond ourselves and being able to serve. So it's embodied, it's empowered, and elevated. That's the 3-phase approach. And how I take people through that is with the power of gesture, which is my embodiment method that I've created, again, from my life's work. I've been a dancer my whole life. I've been a dance educator for the last 30 plus years, and I've taught children, thousands of children, and hundreds of teachers across the country to teach from this embodied place. So the power of gesture is really the practice of, it's a body setting practice. Mindset, right? It's like, get your mind set in so that you can make that presentation. You can make that phone call. You can feel good in your life, mindset. The power of gesture is a body setting practice that helps you get embodied, empowered, and elevated. Yeah.
Embodied, empowered, and elevated. Beautiful. Also, many people, Jen, they struggle with understanding and expressing their emotions, which often disrupts their inner peace. So, how can kinesthetic intelligence help individuals reconnect with their emotion and find that balance?
Yeah. So, like I had said before, if it's something someone really wants to do, then practicing these mindfulness techniques, getting in touch with how you feel, requires going quiet, really listening to your body. Your body is speaking all day long. Your body is speaking and telling you what it needs you to know through your emotions and through your sensations. So that's all the body, right? So kinesthetic intelligence combined with emotional intelligence. When we strengthen that, then we are able to really listen. We're able to pay attention and understand what it is we feel, what it is we want, what it is we want to create more of in our life. So we have to commit to the work of mindfulness practices, like using the power of gesture, or yoga, or sitting quietly in meditation, or dancing. Because when we move our bodies and when we do these forms of kinesthetic movements and using the body to access the deeper parts of ourselves, then we will strengthen the ability to be able to hear and understand what it is our body is saying.
Wow. Makes sense. And also, Jen, before we wrap up, what message would you like to leave with our listeners about this connection between emotional and kinesthetic intelligence and achieving true inner peace?
That emotional intelligence and kinesthetic intelligence are a real thing, and they are not talked about nearly enough, and they need to be. And so what I would say to the listeners here is go do some research or click on the link that I provided so that you have a guide and you can see the different forms of intelligence, and know that there are many ways to learn, and there are many ways to move through life, and there are many ways to process. And just don't let anybody tell you any different. And if you don't resonate with the way something is being presented, that's fine. That is more than fine. That is not your issue. Your issue is you need to find your way of learning. But just don't let anybody tell you you're not smart, you're not, capable. It's just not true. You just have to find your way. You have to find the way that works best for you.
Exactly. That's so encouraging, Jen. And of course, if our listeners would wish to connect with you and get access to your free gift for all of us, how they can do that?
Yeah, so I gave you a link for the multiple forms of intelligence. You can download that. I also do classes every Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday at 10 a.m., Wednesday at 12 Eastern time. And it's a free 30-minute class so that you can experience the power of gesture. That link is on, it's on Instagram. That's where I live most of the time, at Jen _Aks, AKS. And all the links are in there. So you can set up a call with me. You can take one of those complimentary classes. You can download this multiple forms of intelligence form. And then my website is a good way to learn more and feel the energy of the work. It's www.jenaks.com.
Great. We'll have all the details and the link mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And Jen, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your incredible, empowering insights and experiences with us today. And I think, your work is truly transformative. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to host you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And to all of our listeners, if you found this conversation as enlightening and peaceful as I did, make sure to explore Jen's methodology, The Power of Gestures, and consider how different forms of intelligence, like emotional and kinesthetic intelligence, can enhance your life. You can refer to the show notes to get access to the freebie and also connect with Jen. And remember that inner peace and better health are within your reach. Start your journey today by embracing your emotions and trusting your body's wisdom. Until next time, stay inspired and keep striving for that inner peace, of course, with all of us. Take care and thank you.